We're live. We're live. We're live now.
All right.
So we will start in 2 minutes. We've asked people to come. All the needs to come in will be in, and it's good to have you here. Thank you. I think that we're having a bit of. I hope the internet is working like good. Thank you very much for joining us, Laurie. My name is Ipim Semenitari. I'm the Executive Director of the Action Education Center Group of Schools. We're a group of 6 schools. We're located in River State, Nigeria, Port Harcourt, River State, Nigeria. And we're very glad to have you with us. Very soon, we will be joined people, the managing director, as well as Taribo Joseph. Taribo Joseph is a health specialist like yourself. So we're glad. Let me start by saying to you, Laurie, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Who is Laurie?
Sure.
Who is Laurie?
Sure. So I am the principal of Canada Academy Online in Canada. We have a day school in Ottawa, Ontario, the capital of Canada. And I run the online and international program. I've been in education for 20 years. I have a passion for technology and international education and bringing people closer through bringing the world closer through the internet. But also I have my special education specialist, and I worked as a high needs coordinator in high school for many years as well before this position. And so I have a lot of knowledge of children as well. And I have my degree from Carleton University in English and Law, and my teaching certificate from the school in Buffalo called Duville. And I think that's that pretty much sums up. I'm a mom. I have 2 children of my own. One graduated last year, and one is graduating this year, which is completely different.
Wow.
Graduating during COVID-19. Yes.
And just because I'm curious, Canada Academy Online International, what does the school do? It's not a usual thing for us. We don't know anything that say this is what we're doing. We're just running an online. So just to hear a bit, what does the school do?
So our program is quite advanced, because one of the things we've realized, and I've done a lot of research and been working in online education for so many years, is that we know that communication and connection is so important for students to be successful. And if online learning isn't done properly, if students don't have that communication and that feeling of connection, they're not as successful. And on top of that, what's very important is differentiated learning. And so this means that students, we teach to their learning style and their learning needs. And so all of our courses are created so that students, we can easily differentiate the course to meet the student needs. So no student gets the exact same course. They might be in the same class, but they get what they need.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow,
yeah.
Interesting. If we have time, we'll have to talk a bit more about that.
Yes.
My second guest is Taribo Joseph. Taribo would like to know a little bit more about you. Who is Taribo Joseph? What do you do? What is your passion? Just a bit about yourself, because before we delve straight into the conversation.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. So my name is Taribo Joseph, and I am the Executive Director of Safe Habitat Initiative. Safe Habitat Initiative, we are an NGO operating here in Nigeria, and our interest is creating a safe space emotionally, mentally, and in our environment, how we drive conversations in this area. And we are also very much involved in emotional and mental advocacy So that's part of what we're doing. We're passionate about it. We're saying it's okay not to be okay, because there are days where you will not feel 100%. So instead
Yeah.
of shaming another person for not being emotionally strong at a particular time or mentally strong, it's better we look at the triggers and create safe spaces as individuals, as organizations, and as a home. So basically, that's what I do. So I'm a trained counselor also. So I'm involved in counseling as regards life and relationship.
Well, thank you very much, Terrible. So, you're
Thank
both
you.
very welcome. Like I said, this is a webinar for our school community, the
Okay.
ABEC group of schools. We've got our parents here, we've got our teachers here, and basically we're navigating the whole and the question that probably comes to mind very readily is, how do we identify triggers? We the other day there was talk about a child who threatened to commit suicide. We're finding that children are either withdrawing into themselves or getting into fights at home with their siblings, or yelling at their parents, or basically just getting very mad and very irritated at every turn. Everybody's, they're like, it's madness. They've never been here before. So, Tyrell, let me ask you, and from here you can take your presentation. How can we identify the triggers? And how do we create safe spaces for our children during this pandemic?
Okay. Thank you very much. It's interesting
Yes, Tyrell.
that at a time like this, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
yes, we
Thank you.
can.
Okay. So at a time like this, now more than ever, we need to look at how we feel mentally. So it is important. Now, if you're talking about triggers, first of all, when you see your child withdrawing at a time like this, some persons knowing that the same way as individuals, as adults, that we are reacting to the pandemic, yes, there's also a reaction from the child. So the truth is, from facts, 70% of children and young people, they experience mental health, and most of them, sorry, 70% of children and young people who experience mental health, they don't have appropriate intervention and at a sufficient age. So it is good that you are doing what you're doing for the ABEC group of schools, because at this point in time, if we have the understanding that, let us identify some of these triggers at an early age, so it helps us. And looking at triggers, when you look at physical changes, some of the general triggers that come. Now there's a obvious physical change, right? The students cannot go back to school. The people normally that they will see around, they don't see them. There's a social change that has happened. Truthfully, while some of us miss our colleagues, we miss our friends, these children also miss their colleagues, they miss their classmates, they miss their friends, they miss the vacation, they miss the time where they have to chat during lunch break. So their feelings and their emotions are valid. For some persons, the exposure to poverty or exposure to that restriction and isolation, which is obvious now, it's a big and a huge trigger for them. And for some homes, now I know I'm handling one or two um, challenges in the home, because what is happening? Violence has increased in some homes. So some of the triggers, if those violence become obvious in some homes, you find that the children, it is a trigger for them, because it is no longer a safe space where they have to live in a place, and every day that they don't really feel safe. One of the triggers, increased access and use of technology. Technology is both good and it is bad. So if parents can be able to try as much as possible to reduce the use of technology, not stop it, because we know some parents step in, because it is also a support system. If you take advantage of technology, now is the time for parents to look at their words and tell them, how can we creatively, intentionally take advantage of technology? So technology is not a disadvantage, but an advantage. But at the same time, you need to reduce it. And what are, if I'll speak further about the triggers, pressure to confirm with peers. Now, why they reach out to their peers? What are the pressure out there? Do they have the same gadget that their parents have? Those are some of the issues and media influence. And now, for some children that are at a very young age, it is very, very important that now more than ever that we reduce their exposure to some of the news going around. Imagine a child asking the parent, "Are we all going to die? Are we really safe?" So that is a concern. It's a serious concern that a child could have, depending on their ages. Some of them really don't have the right understanding what is happening. We know what is happening in the world is new for most of us. Same with the children. So some of the information you have, some of the news you have to look at and the updates, it is good that you restrict them if they are at the point where they can't actually fathom the capacity of the impact of the pandemic on the world. So those are some of the triggers, little and general triggers. And now more than ever, you will see I won't try to call it the bad side of the children, but we'll say the challenging part of your children. Yeah, so when you get exposed to this challenging part of the children, you should not tell them they are worthless. You understand? Because that is a very bad trigger for any child. You don't need to tell them, I never knew you were so dumb, because we are the ones managing their homeschooling now. And you find out that some of your children, maybe they're not so good in one course or the other. You need to be sure that you're communicating your displeasure in a very positive manner. Believe me, a little trigger could be if you get to the point where you really talk with your children, do you share those secrets that they have told you with others? That could be simple, but it is also a big trigger. So your daughter comes to tell you that I'm beginning to like or have a feeling for a boy. And what happens? The next time she's having a conversation with her big aunt says, "Yeah, so who is that boy that you're having a feeling for?" And all of a sudden, yes, that child is now withdrawn because I thought my secret was safe with you. I thought you were my friend. Yes. So we're trying to reduce all of the mental and emotional triggers as much as possible. The living condition is the physical living condition, a safe space. It is not about how much you have, but the peace in that home. We know as adults, it is also frustrating that we're trapped here. But how can you deliberately make sure you are not? Yes. Sorry, you were saying something. I missed you. Did you ask a question?
Okay, so sorry.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right.
Yes.
So yes, great. So yes, and you've talked about this, that at this time, just like adults feel a sense of pressure and dealing with things, so children too are dealing with things, and that this is the worst time on the earth to say to a child, "You're not useful, you're useless," or any such thing. Thank you. Now is the managing director of the Ashley Brown Education Center Group of Schools, Dr. Christy Toby. She's on set now, and so she's joining us. She'll probably. You've had to deal with kids. You've had to deal with kids at this time, and you've had to see their situation repeatedly, and clearly you understand what's going on. What's going on with you've always dealt with your children online. How do you manage to ensure that children children have emotional stability even when they're learning at this time when the interactions are not the way they used to be. They're not going out as much as they used to go out. Here in Nigeria, we've experienced a lockdown. In River State, a lockdown has stayed in weeks, and in the last it hasn't been, our life hasn't been the same. How do we create safe space in spite of this? How do we support our children's mental health?
So, what was mentioned earlier by Terabo was wonderful. Many of the things that I would have included as well. And so we are in the same situation in Canada. And I think during this unprecedented time, what is so important for everybody to remember is that we are all experiencing this globally. This has never happened before. Everybody is in lockdown. Our schools are also shut. Everything is shut, and children are at home, and parents are at home. And with that comes many issues, which Terabo had talked about. And he was saying, if students are, sometimes their safest part of their day is at school. And so now that's been taken away from them. And sometimes with students, it's the most stable part of their day. So one of the things that is really important to manage children's mental health during COVID-19, during this pandemic, is maintaining a routine. So if families can put together a daily routine for their child. Now, as a school, what we have done is we're K-12. So for K-12, we went completely online. And so students still have their classes every day at the same time, but online. Now, this also can create an issue because sometimes students don't have, it can cause an inequity because sometimes students don't have access to the Wi-Fi or maybe the proper computer to use. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to have support, to be able to make sure that our students did have that. And I know that's a luxury that not everybody can have, but what it showed was that maintaining that routine has really helped students. Another thing that for engagement, and so they can still feel part of their class and see their classmates, was creating fun things that they can do virtually. And so we just finished a virtual Spirit Week, and during the virtual Spirit Week, students were for Monday, they dressed up like a favorite superhero and then posted that picture on the social media of the school. The next day was a TikTok Tuesday, and they shared a video of them dancing to their favorite school appropriate song. On the Wednesday, it was Workout Wednesday. So they had to dress in their favorite workout gear, and they got bonuses if they shared a video of them exercising. Thankful Thursday was they posted a picture of something they were thankful for. And then Fun Friday was share a picture of them in their Canada Academy gear. So this is geared towards our school, but this can be done with even in your own household. Things that you can do to kind of boost up the morale and get students or get children feeling engaged. Now, how do you do this? Because not only is their mental health is suffering, but you want to be able to, Terabo mentioned, they're spending more time online. And there are good things and bad things about that. And we know the bad things. We know that it can lead to a decline in mental health if it's not done properly. So you want to do certain things like set limits, which was mentioned. Put the computer in an area, communal area, so that you're aware what your child is doing online. Explain the concept of a digital footprint. And these are great learning lessons, because make sure the child understands that what you put online is there forever. And when they get older, that can really affect them when they're looking to apply to university or for employment. Explain that downloads are dangerous. All of these things, even though they're geared towards safety online, they also help children with their mental health, because when children are online, they're open to bullying, they're opening to meeting child predators, and then they're open to not widening their their mental well-being by doing other things like exercising, getting out in the sun, eating properly, and maintaining routines. And also teaching digital citizenship. This is a wonderful time for us as parents to teach our children about what it means to be a good person online, just like we teach them how to be a good person in real life. And this is also related to mental well-being because of the increase in cyberbullying over the years, which we know really affects students and children. Now, I won't go on too much because I know many of this has been talked about already, but explaining to your child that it is normal to feel sad, stressed, confused, scared, or angry during this crisis. Everybody around the world is feeling the same way. This is really uniting us as human beings. Explaining that they need to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Make sure you get some exercise. It's hard when you're inside most of the day. Make contact if you can through social media, through FaceTime, Zoom, Google Meet, WhatsApp, WeChat, all these different platforms that we're lucky enough that we can connect with friends and family. Maybe have them do a virtual play date. They can talk to their friends. It's important to keep communication and to keep that social aspect, because we're all social creatures. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, we all need human connection. And I guess talk about their fears, because when students or when children have anxiety, it is exhibited in different ways than it is in adults. Your child may have a sore stomach, complain about a sore stomach, or maybe doesn't sleep through the night anymore, is waking up not able to sleep. There's different ways that maybe they're acting out. Maybe they're, you mentioned in the very beginning of them about parents were saying that their children are acting differently. And this, I think, is a direct reflection of children having anxiety. Now, so I guess self-care is what really this boils down to. Children need to eat healthy, eat regular meals again, sleep well. Sleep is so important. Stay hydrated, move, and take time to enjoy the things that you can with the limits that we have. Being creative is so important. And I think, I don't know if you have any questions.
Okay. I'm just going to, before I come back to you both, let me bring in the managing director of ABEC Group of Schools, and just please go ahead. MD, you're on. I think our device is on. Oh, terrible. I'm going to let you experiences are telling us the story.
Sorry?
Opening, so that we'll be able.
I missed you there. Sorry.
I said we wanted to just open up the conversation. But now, talk about make your presentation, and we would ask you questions. So, Taibo, with your presentation, and then we'll take Laurie ahead.
Okay, how many minutes do I have?
You've got, honestly, I would have said take 1 hour, but you know, you and I know you can. So you've got 15 minutes, please.
Okay, okay. It's all right. I guess it's possible for me to share a slide here.
Yes, 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 it is.
Okay, okay. So can you see my slide?
Your slide has just come on. Yes.
Okay.
And this thing is not.
So you with me? Can you see the slide?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
We're with you. We can see. We can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to just share a little of my experience. This is my baby girl, Aliza, and you know she started school, the online school on Monday, and on a good day she's very energetic and she's very happy. But the first time, the picture down here, the first time, that was the first class she had. Believe me, she froze during the first class and she just started itching and was not ready to say anything. And it happened again the next day and the next day. But after the class, she's cool and excited again. And I discovered that, wow, she's experiencing her own form of anxiety because of the whole change.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to be 4 in July. You know, I had a conversation with my wife and I told her, see, this is an anxiety issue because she's experiencing a whole new emotion. Because once she's off the class, everything is different. So, but if you look here, that is her elder brother. He's excited being there. He gets ready and gets his gadgets all ready. So one thing I'll point out from here, we must understand our children and know that they are all different. So you treat each one differently. Understanding that we are all different, so it helps that your expectations for each child is tailored to that child. Most teens report feeling lonely, anxious, and bored during school closures. And now imagine how they feel that the schools are shut indefinitely. You know, truthfully, they miss going out and seeing friends. And some of them are just looking just like we, the parents, we feel alone. They are also worried. They look around and say, this is wrong that I have to be trapped in this home. And I don't know when I will leave there. And let's just look at some areas. I have a long slide, so I'll just go to keep these children mentally well. They need to feel loved, trusted, understood, valued, and safe. Now more than ever, it's not a time to hush a child. You need to let them know that their emotions are valid, even if it looks funny to you. So now's not the time to tell the younger one to always man up and act like a grown up. And now is the time to tell the adult one and remember that the adult child is an adult. They want to feel valued and feel safe. How can you communicate it to them? Most children are screaming, if only my parents can understand me. Can you just chill and understand them? Can you create an atmosphere at home where they are hopeful and optimistic? Most of them want to have a sense of belonging in their family and in their community. So do they have a sense of community of belonging? How can you do that? Make them part of the conversation. Make them part of the decision making. If you make a decision, it is a good time to have a family meeting and tell them this is why some things have changed. Can you still hear me?
I can.
Okay, okay. So looking
Yes,
at visualization, and you can, okay, you need to distract them from what is happening around. So at one point or the other, still let them know where's the next destination you will like to go after this is over. There's nothing like communicating hope to them. What is the biggest thing that you miss at a time like this? Help them to reframe some of the negative thoughts that they have. And of course, you need to check on each of them individually. Some of us are under pressure because we're looking at the bills rising and we're concerned, can the account balance survive the pandemic and the lockdown? So it could get you, if you don't manage yourself, to start yelling and begin to pass on some negativity in the home. So we need to decrease that in your journey to creating a safe space, making your home and yourself the safe space. It means you need to learn how to manage your anger. Yes, we have a lot on our plate. Once in a while, check on yourself and stop so you don't snap. You know, it's normal to lose control. We're not perfect. So when you lose your control once in a while, be the bigger person and go back to your child and tell them, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I was just under pressure, and repair those relationships. And in doing that, you will be telling them also how to build relationships. Now is not a good time. As a matter of fact, it's never a good time to shame anyone. It's never a good time to shame your children. You know, I mentioned that. So if at all you had that habit, please, you need to let them know, even with their insecurity or their limitations, focus on their strength. That is one way to make them feel better. Focus on their strength. If you amplify their weakness, they look small before the world. But if you make them to focus on their strength, while you know there are areas where they're not good at, let them focus on their strength. And over time, their weaknesses will become very insignificant. And you'll be surprised when they pick up and be better persons. So treating everyone with respect and no name calling and sarcasm is one way to make sure your home is a safe space. So everyone should make sure that they are listening to. I think I talked about this, so I'll just keep moving. All our thoughts and our feelings, they need to know that they are real. So if they wake up and they feel sad, you don't go about and telling them, come on, you're just being too sensitive. Tell them, I understand you. If they're angry, that I'm just here, tell them I understand you and engage them in a conversation, not in a judgmental way, but just have that conversation. We'll find out that now more than ever, these are our children. Sometimes we just need a space, but they are locked in the home. The best you can do once in a while is to give them that physical and emotional space, right? They might want to be alone in a particular day. Don't try to be so forceful in bringing them out of that mood. Oh, come and hug mommy. What if I don't want to hug mommy? I just want to be alone. Sometimes just allow them to be alone. Maybe they just need space from their siblings. Allow them to be there and look for another activity to do the next time to bring them out of that mood. We have expectations for them. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We have expectations for them, yes. But you need to adjust your expectations. Your expectations should be specific to every child because every child is unique. So if you understand their strength and their weaknesses, you know that you should not expect the same thing from every child. It is important that we do that. We are different level in our productivity level. So the same thing happens also with the children. So let us understand that. Daily, can you come once in a while and have a meeting and ask your children, okay, first it starts with self-examination. The things I do and the things I say to them, what is the response that comes from them? Is it acceptance and eagerness or resistance and behavior flare-up? That is one way to check if truthfully you are a safe space or you can mark yourself good on different levels. So every time I communicate with them, every time I give a directive or I engage them in an activity, is it acceptance or resistance, then maybe you need to review and tone down a little. So remember, again, the kids and the teens are grieving the loss of their school year, their sports season, their special events. That's the truth for some of them. They're grieving this loss and it is overwhelming. So you need to be flexible in your expectations for them and help them to remain calm. So how do you communicate with them considering how we feel? They need to be understood. A lot of things will happen. They will wake up some days and they just don't feel like doing the chores. You have it in you to control how you respond and communicate with them, because we can't really control what is happening externally. But now is the time to put your home together. So what do these children really want? They simply want to feel heard and seen. And one good way to be a support system, I always say, is being a person, right? If I'm looking for a support system, I look for someone that make me feel heard, make me feel seen, and make me feel valued. So it's good to look back and ask yourself, do I make my child feel heard? Do I make my child feel seen? Or my children are living in my shadows? Or maybe my second born is living in the shadows of the first? Do I make them feel valued? Because most times we always want to fix the things in their life. But sometimes why you want to be there, it is also to know that sometimes they want to talk with you without you giving them solutions and feedback. It is a real struggle for most parents, truthfully. But if you can just tell yourself, okay, today I'm not going to jump into my problem solving mode. I will just allow them by just presenting my listening ears. The key here is balance. Take advantage of technology. I think the other speaker, she has already mentioned it, so I'll just keep moving. But if I will cite an example, I had an issue with my son. My wife came up and said, he doesn't love the Bible, reading the Bible again. He's not reading the Bible. He just loves his phones and playing games with the phones. He loves the gadget. He loves the laptop. And she wants him to read the Bible more often. And how could we change this? I just simply said, how about we allow him to read the Bible through the U version, right? Through the Bible app, since he loves the phone. And now it is working. If we tell him now, use the Bible app and open, he will gladly and he's excited to read the Bible. The same thing goes with giving them the opportunity, for some of us that are religious, and giving them the opportunity to, we have the Bible stories now. Since they love the gadget, let them read. It's really is the same solution. At the end of the day, they get to know more about your religion. So encourage them to start virtual pen pals. She has talked about that, so I'll just continue. Your anxiety is contagious. So your children can actually smell it if they know that you really don't have it all together. So you're better off communicating to them in honesty, and at the same time, take care of yourself and keep your cool. Get the right information now more than ever. So when you see the numbers coming, another confirmed case, another death, how do you respond to it? You need to also, as an individual, as a parent, get your own support system. And you might need to zone out from some of the communication so that you take care of yourself physically and your. Do I still have time?
Yes, you do. Just go on.
I guess I have. Okay. So
you just
now,
have to give yourself 2 more minutes.
Okay. Let us limit technology once in a while. Let us say this is a tech-free hour. And you as a parent also participate in it. Set good example and turn off your computer, your cell phone, and just spend the evening with your family. Yes. As you continue to do that, you make it a family rule. Try it, and you find out that will be a valuable time to build connection eventually with your family. Music and sound has a way of affecting our mood. So someone might try some peaceful music once in a while. And it is also good to allow your children play their music, encourage them to listen to other sounds. That's one way to stir up conversation. What kind of music do you like? Let me see your collection, or let us get a collection together. And if you play it, it changes their mood. It keeps the environment peaceful. Have you asked your children what they know about the pandemic? Now is a good time to ask them what they really know about it and provide reassurance. I would like to just read the next slide, then I'll stop. You know, now more than ever, understand this: younger kids may need a bit more tender love and care and cuddles than older kids. So find out the younger kids, they are worried with everything that is happening. You need to be there for them so they don't feel helpless and scared. We're together because you're concerned about why the older kids, what's their problem? The older kids need more space and they need more privacy than the younger kids. So while you're close to the younger ones, also know that the older ones need privacy. There's a challenge parents always face. This is it. You left your children out there. Some of them are in the boarding house, right? And they've experienced some level of freedom. Now they're back home and you're constantly in their hair. You need to give them a level of freedom. Yes, why the younger ones are clingy and demanding, the other ones are not the same. I think I will end here for now.
Thank you very much, Taiwo. Thank you for sharing. I believe a lot of us have benefited from this conversation. And a key thing my takeaway from this is that, yes, school, they're not with their friends, but it's also a good time for them to rediscover the beauty of family, the beauty of home. And that there's so much they can still do. There's still connections that can happen. And it's actually could be a journey to rediscovery for the kids. And they can begin to try things they've never tried before. But it also means that for us as parents, we can also try stuff we haven't tried before. We can venture new terrain and perhaps discover this internet afresh. Okay, know what we're doing. Thank you, Taribo. And I'm sure that we'll come back to the questions, we'll share those. But Laurie, you already live a life where you've always worked with kids. You're also a specialist in addressing mental health issues in children. You also work with children with special needs. One of the things that happens a lot is that children with special needs at this time are dealing with what I call double jeopardy. They're already dealing with their own quote unquote limitations, if you want to call it that. They're out of the environment where they were feeling safe, which is a school that understands them and where they had fun with their friends. They're now in this environment where people might even feel a sense of frustration because they're helping them do stuff. You know, all of these are real issues. How can we support our children's mental wellness at this time? So this is something I think you know about.
Yes, and you're right.
So I'll have you make your own presentation.
Sure.
And you can share your screen as well.
Share my screen. Sorry. So I'm going to share the screen, and I'm just going to, you made some really, really important points. And one of them is that our students, our most vulnerable students that have, you know, learning disabilities, physical disabilities, mental disabilities, are completely out of their normal routine. And so they have their daily struggles that they always have, that they're always struggling with, but now they have, they've lost their support network. They're at home, but not only have they lost their support network, the the parents have lost their support network. So these are our most vulnerable families. And there's many different ways that we can help children in this predicament and families. And one of those obviously is reaching out to community support. I'm not sure, just because in Nigeria, I'm not sure what community support is available to families. But for the parents that are at home, having a daily routine, I know I talked about this earlier, but having a daily routine is paramount. It will help with energy levels and the ability to deal with family conflict. And it will give the students or the children a sense of normalcy in these very not normal times that we're dealing with. So I'm not going to go through everything, but this is what I had talked about earlier about eating healthy, have a sleep schedule. And I know I had to do this for my own son because he was, and actually my daughter as well, they were staying up too late watching Netflix or playing video games. And then the next day they, it just kind of got into this routine where they were sleeping later and not happy. And I thought, this has to stop. We don't know how long this is going to go on for. So we need to have a routine. So everybody gets up in the morning at the normal time, gets dressed. We start school, start work. We have breaks, scheduled breaks. We have lunch, and we take time to connect. And you also, Ibn said, I don't know if it was you who was mentioning that now is a time to connect with our children. And I have to say that this has been one of the things I've taken out of this terrible situation, is that I've gotten to spend more time with my teenagers. And they have to spend time with me. So when they were normally running, so busy with their own social lives and sports, I now have them at home, and I'm really cherishing this time together. And, of course, there's many other stresses, but I'm trying to really focus on that positive and really taking advantage of it, because this isn't what I normally got before, and it's not what the children normally got. So they have pretty much my undivided attention right now, and I have them where I want them, home. So yes, and then daily exercise, spending quality time together, and as Taribo said, connect spiritually, and that could be through prayer, a Bible, whatever it is that your child believes in. Household chores, making them accountable. So online school is a great way of being accountable. They have to do their class, they have to do their homework, and then they have to do their household chores. They have to help out around the family. So they know that is the normalcy that they need. And then, as Taribo said, set limits on the screen time, but model that as the parent. Set limits on your own screen time, because your mental health is very important as well, because your child is only as mentally healthy as you can be as well. And many parents are struggling right now, worrying about the financial implications of COVID-19. How are they going to support their family? Worried about their child's well-being. And then also fears themselves about their health. What will happen if they get sick? What will happen if their child gets sick? So there's so many things going on and affecting people right now. If you're allowed to, in Canada, we are allowed to go outside near our own home and with our own family members. So I don't know what Nigeria's rules are right now, but if you're allowed to go for a walk with your family, keeping that social distancing, wear a mask, wear gloves if you can, and then, show compassion. We are all going to make mistakes during this time. As parents, you're going to make mistakes. Be kind to yourself. This is the first time we're going through this. So we are learning how to navigate this together. Show compassion to your child. Look out for the signs. Breathe. So there's many tips for implementing routines, and it really depends on your preference and it depends on your individual child. So use visuals when creating routines for children. Remember their age, keep it simple, and add new tasks slowly. Make sure you have rules. You can use rewards or encouragement. Be patient. And even when, we were talking about setting routines for a child, but it's also important for us to set routines for ourselves. I know for myself that when I don't have a routine, I can become more complacent and simply, you fall into an unhealthy routine, maybe sitting on the couch for too long, scrolling on your phone for too long. So this is important for everybody. Support each other. Support your extended family if you are able to through FaceTime and Zoom chat. My parents live close to me, but I haven't seen them since before quarantine, so since the beginning of March. But I do regularly text them and phone them, and we've done Zoom dinner together, where we're on a Zoom call, we can see each other and we're eating. We're finding these new normalcy, and the children enjoy it too, because it makes it fun for them. And then I talked about keeping children safe online. I went through all these, these things, teaching digital citizenship. Your child is going to be spending more time online right now during COVID-19 for online schooling, and just out of plain boredom trying to entertain themselves. We have to be vigilant in watching what our children are doing online. Talked about coping with the stress and understanding that this is normal to feel sad and stressed and confused, scared. And we have to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And I talked about the self-care earlier, so I won't keep repeating myself. And then I talked about what our school's doing for children. And it doesn't have to be through a school. It can be through at home. You can do this. I know that I've seen on Facebook an acquaintance that I know, and she has 2 small children at home, and she can't work because she's a chiropractor, and her children are very high energy. And so I see her every day. She seems to have a different thing she's doing with her kids, and superhero day, sparkly day, let's all dress in yellow day. And these are things that raise your morale. It's silly, and it gets your children excited. And these are going to be the things they remember about the pandemic. If you're doing these silly things and making things fun, they're going to focus on that, and they're not going to as much remember the fear, which is really important. And I just actually put this here. One of the things that we did with our organization is have virtual Jeans Day, just kind of making people feel that normalcy about even their work and the school. So the children were able to, they dressed in jeans that day, because normally they wear a uniform at school, even though they're not doing that online. And then we still did. We supported the charities that we normally would. So that is what I put together. Oh, sorry, I put together, and I hope that I don't know if you have any questions.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. And we will take questions, but just before that, the managing director of the school of the group is with us. Dr. Christy Toby, I'm going to let her make a few comments, and then we will take further. Yes. I think your mic is muted. No, her mic is on. Can we hear you? Her mic is on. Let me see what's going on. Okay, go ahead. We can't hear, we can't seem to hear you. Okay, I'm going to just, we can't, yeah. Hello? Okay. Okay, we're going to sort out her mic issue, but something that I've been trying to figure out is this going to be our new normal? What do you think?
Mhm.
And is it something that would work? Do children actually like do children actually like learning like this? I
So
know that a lot of kids in my school want to come right back. Lori, are kids enjoying this?
Well, so I think there's two different sides to it. Some children prefer this, and actually at our school and in Canada, one of the things that we've seen over the last 5 to 8 years is that students are looking for flexibility. So we already had that happening in Canada, where students wanted the flexibility to work at home sometimes and work at school sometimes. So many schools adopted blended learning, and we're one of those schools. So we do have students that have already always gone back and forth. We have had students who have chosen for many different reasons, because they play elite sports maybe, or they're on a TV show. We've had students like that who have to be completely online. So we have many students who love this way of learning. But then you do have those students who need and crave that social interaction. And so, do I think this is going to be the new normal? I think so for right now. I think where we're at in the world, until a vaccine has been found, we're probably going to be seeing this happen more. I know that what's being looked at here in Canada is that high school might be staying online for quite a while. The elementary and middle school, they might do something a little bit different, just because parents need their children in school to work. So they're coming up with different ways of doing that safely. But I think that as their caregivers and their adults and their teachers and parents, how are we going to make this fun for them, engaging for them, and that they still get that connection that they need to be mentally healthy? I'm lucky with our school, because we've been doing this for so long. I've done a lot of research, and I've been working with the Ministry of Education for years on this. We have it. We're doing it, I think, well. And that being said, I think we're in a very lucky position to be doing it well, because there's different varying degrees of where schools are at doing this. And so everybody's learning. And I think, parents and children have to be patient with their schools and their teachers, and know everyone's doing the best they can. But the bottom line is that the goal should be, if this is going to be long-term, which it could be, we need our children to feel connected. They need communication, and they need the support. The students are most vulnerable, still need differentiated learning. And how are we going to do that to support them? So those are the different things that we all have to think about, and that I think are very important for us to think about.
Okay, let me ask another question, Lori, and this is really important. And Taribo, I'm coming to you because I'd like to find out how we're going to navigate this with poor internet. Just look at how today is going alone, and how crazy we're going on and off.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to know how we're navigating. But Lori, children learn differently.
Yes.
And for some kids, you need to be hands-on. You understand this.
Yes.
There's that child in the class who you need to, and I heard you say that part of what you do at Canada is that you create a program that works for a child. Now, and this is me wondering, how is this possible online? How am I able to work with a child who is strongly visual, or who is strongly audio, or a child who needs accommodation, who needs to do his work over a period of 2 hours, 3 hours, and meanwhile I've got an hour to spend online teaching a lesson to 30 kids. Okay, how am I going to be able to connect with that child who I need to see in class? Who I need to maintain eye contact with?
Yes.
All the things. does that happen
How do we do that?
online?
Yes, and I know that some of the solutions I'm going to mention are not possible for everybody, for all schools, because it depends. Every school has a different budget to work with. They have their teachers trained a certain way. It does take a lot to do this, but it is possible. So believe it or not, I started this school because of my own children, because of their different learning needs. My son has apraxia and dyslexia, severe dyslexia.
Wow.
And as an educator and as his mom, I knew he was bright. I knew it, and I saw what was happening at school, and he wasn't learning to his potential. And so that's where this came from. So it was developed for students with special needs for the different, to have differentiated learning. So we have the hands-on, we have the programs, the math programs where the students get automatic feedback. We have the science labs where it's virtual, where students are able to learn by doing instead of by reading. We have things read to students that need the audio instead of always, reading through a textbook. Our teachers are trained to engage with these students and to meet one-on-one. And we're very fortunate. And I know this cannot happen in every school, but we have live tutors. So we have an option for live tutoring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where a student can get somebody on their own right away. And that is a very fortunate thing that we have, and that not everybody can do. So it can be done. It is done. We're doing right now, we're doing this amazing robotics, Lego robotics virtually. And the students love it. It's very interactive. It's a fantastic program. So we're able to get students engaged. We have, different things. We have this amazing coding program for students that's very step-by-step, hands-on, that we find all of our students are successful at. And we actually start this in kindergarten. So there are ways to do it, but it does take training, and it does take some creative thinking as well. It's a different mindset, but I think that as long as you're coming from the place of doing what's best for every child, you can make it work. Now, for the internet, yes, not every country has, and every person has internet. So, and even here in Canada, we have students who live in rural areas that do not have high-speed internet. And so we've made it so that our programs can be easily put offline as well. So that, of course, it's a bit faster to do it online, and they could, but it works well offline as well. So there are options for everybody.
Right. I hear you, Laurie. So Terry, this is it. I mean, how we going to be dealing with this? So we're sitting here, and it looks all beautiful, but just look at this short time and how many interruptions we've had. And imagine having to teach children. Okay, especially think about it, children with autistic child.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Or trying to help a dyslexic child with that. How can parents support kids through a learning program with unstable internet in Port Harcourt? Or even in the rural communities?
Wow. Yes, in the rural communities, now more than ever, we agree that our world has actually changed.
Yes.
And this is a new normal, and we have to embrace it. Change is hard, but we need to embrace it, because I try to wrap my head around how are we going to adjust moving forward? So even if we were to go back to the classrooms, there will be issues of interactions And how do you maintain social distancing with children? And how many caregivers will be there to make sure that you're not having physical contact?
Ah,
So, if we have to go back to the classrooms, it's going to be in phases. So while we think about that, a lot of things will have to be set by various institutions to ensure that social distancing is uh, is 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 in place. But beyond that, let's look at a situation where we continue this way. We need to
yeah,
consider options.
yeah.
One thing I know about children, children are good learners.
Mhm.
Now it is frustrating for a lot of persons, but
Mhm.
children have a very good chance at adapting. So
Okay.
if we can continue on this path that we are in, over time, it will also be a normal for the
Okay.
children, right? To
Okay.
Yeah.
see your friends and they will just
Mhm.
adjust. If you look around, what happens to children after they lose a parent? You think that child will die. Over time, they just get used to not seeing the parent and life goes on. So the same thing for the children. Over time, they will adjust to this. But for the internet, we can't really see any solution now because it's not really in our hands, but the network providers. But what I will say to
Yeah.
parents out there, you need to look at your budget now and think of what can I slash, right? What
Mm.
can I give up because my internet bill just got up?
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
important.
What's the
Yes,
amount of
and
that?
maybe you're not having additional income, but you need steady income. You need to consider
Yeah.
having two, three different internet service providers. That's the reality here
Mhm.
in Nigeria currently.
Wow.
So you just don't rely on one service provider.
Wow.
So cut down on something in the home. Just look around. Look at
Oh my
your books again, your expenses, so you can increase the amount you will spend for the internet use. I think that is one way. Then let institutions also look at the options. You mentioned special needs. So now
yeah.
institutions should start training caregivers and start training teachers for special
Mm.
needs.
Yes.
Then, if the teachers themselves are able to maintain some hygiene, then on request, you get a teacher that can teach your word, and you as a parent, you make sure that there's an area that is safe. The teacher comes, and within 1 2 hours, just guide that your child that needs that special assistance. Then, of course,
Okay.
there's the part where we need to provide also additional workbooks, additional materials, both
Mhm.
offline and online, that parents were beginning to realize that now we are indeed also teachers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
beyond being
You
parents, we now more than ever we agree we are partners in teaching our children. So
Yeah.
parents need to
oh,
step up
absolutely.
to that responsibility. But what will happen when every one of us we have to go back to work and our children are at home? It means also we need to train those in our homes to be internet savvy,
Yes.
to be able to
Mhm.
navigate this technology. So also our domestic staff need to come to that point. So a lot of things needs to happen. So now is the time to have that conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so if you look on the screen, Laurie, you're going to find a question which you need to
Yes.
deal with. And it's, yes. So,
So
Laurie,
how
speak to
healthy
this.
is
How
it?
healthy is it?
Is it that one?
Yeah.
How healthy is it for our children to have social media presence, and how do we address their cravings for that? So this is a big topic,
Yeah.
and this is a worldwide topic. It doesn't matter what country you live in, what
Mhm.
nationality, what language you speak. This is where students want. This is what children want to do, and what I talked about earlier. So it's really important. So this is where it's very difficult for parents because on one hand, we know that our child's social connection is so important to their well-being. So social media is the way children communicate now. It is a different world than we grew up in. This is the way that they make their connections, they make their friends, they make plans. We know this, but we also know the internet can be unsafe. And we also know that students can start posting things that they shouldn't post. So this is where we need to educate them. And I don't know in Nigeria if it's part of the curriculum yet, but it's part of the curriculum here where we teach about digital citizenship and safety as part of our curriculum, just because it's so important for students to know. So one, teaching them, we have to teach students because they don't know what we don't teach them. So I think in the very beginning when social media came out, parents kind of took a hands-off approach, thinking it was just that they didn't know. We're the first generation to parent this. So we're learning as we go. And so I think what we've learned up until now is that we need to parent social media. Our children need it for their mental well-being. They need it to communicate, to have friends, to make connections, to learn even. But we need to parent. We need to teach them how to use it safely, how to be a kind person on social media, what to do if you see cyberbullying, what to do if you see something unsafe. And then there's many parental controls available now that we need to tap into. And there's many ways we can limit what this children see. There's apps that are available. So it's possible now. Do I think students need social media? To be honest, I do. I think for their social well-being and mental well-being, it is a part of life that we have to get used to. But as parents, we have a responsibility to teach them how to do this safely and kindly, and be good digital citizens.
Right. Thank you so much, Laurie. Did you have something you wanted to add to that, Taribo? Should children, do they need IG, Instagram? We're talking about kids under 15. How can we ensure that they stay safe while doing this?
Yes, I think they should be allowed, but in phases. And you should add rewards to it.
Okay.
So you don't need to jump in from 0 to 100%, right? So you could start with the good thing with Facebook, Instagram. You could have an advantage where on your phone, on your device, you also have a second account. So their account can be the second account. So that is one way you can check them. So you tell them, okay, 5 to 6 p.m., 5 to 8 p.m., I allow you to be on Instagram. So take my phone and look at your account. And there's a level of control.
Yes.
So you tell them if you're responsible enough with 2 hours, then you can have more hours. Then you get to the point where on your own device, you can now have full access to it. And I support what Laurie is saying.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Well, we have the managing director of our group. She's here with us, Christy Toby. I'm going to let her intervene with a few words, and as we prepare to round up. Okay. So please go ahead, MD.
Yeah. Hello, Larry and Taribo. Thank you very much for being there for us, and thank you, dear parents. We're happy we're having this discussion, this interaction. I am sure this short period our children have stayed with you, you would have been feeling too stressed up. Don't worry, or you should be able to occupy them properly by some home talks. Tell them about some of your mistakes so that they know that they too, their mistakes are not unfounded. Tell them about your successes. Tell them about your genealogy. Occupy their thoughts so that they don't have to think of other odd things. With the telephone on their hands, they'll be making calls and also watching all sorts of things. But you must occupy them. Let them also know how to be more adventurous. That will boost them up by the time they come back to school. I listened all through the talks from our 2 guests, and if all the parents listened to them, I am sure we'll be much better off for it. Thank you, Laurie, for the special needs talk, because we also have a special needs school. All we try to do is to encourage all our children, regular or special need, to discover their potential. So if parents this period are with you on this first holiday, try to discover their potentials. Like Taribo said, which are their areas? So with this, you will not be bored. Allow them to teach us. They have so much to teach us. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much, everybody. I hope we'll have more time for this kind of discussions so that we learn from each other. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you so much, MD.
Thank you.
Parents, thank you so much. We have come to the end of this conversation. I'm hoping that we can bother Taribo and Laurie again some other time.
Sure.
But just to say that this is something we've enjoyed doing for us at the ABEC group. As we get a lot normal for us, we never, and I'm sure that we will come out on top of this. On the other side, stronger, better, and our kids will come out better and stronger. We'll just make sure we support them a bit more. Again, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful evening, wonderful conversation. Laurie, have a lovely evening from this end. I think afternoon from your end.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you very
Thank you.
much. We have
Thank you for
enjoyed
having me.
having you. Parents, thank you so much. And until we do this again, and we'll do this shortly, it's been an awesome time. Thank you, MD, and everyone have a lovely time.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay healthy, everyone.